Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Today we have Miss Kris D, an officiant, and she's going to tell us a little bit more about officiating weddings. So, thank you so much for being here today.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, tell me a little bit more about yourself and why you became an officiant.
Awesome. Well, I'm born and raised in Sacramento, so I love this area. I love the valley. Why I became an officiant. I enjoy festivities and parties and seeing people motivated and happy and families join together. And I enjoy seeing life fulfilled with joy.
I love that. So, what exactly does an officiant do?
That's a good question. Officiants do anywhere from performing the weddings. I hate to say the word performance because it's not really a performance, it's an honor to be able to celebrate that. We do a plethora of things. We officiate the weddings, we do baptisms, we do funeral services. We do just about everything, meet the needs of families, spirituality, that type of thing. So, weddings are my favorite, of course, right? Because that's the fun thing, but we do quite a bit.
That is beautiful. So, when an engaged couple contacts you, like, do they need to know exactly what they're looking for in an officiant, or is that something that you kind of walk them through that process of creating that ceremony for them?
I love the fact that people come to me mostly when they don't know what to do. They're not sure. I just had a young lady say, I believe my boyfriend is going to ask me to marry him. What do I do? So, I mean, I've talked to young ladies that are 22 straight out of college saying, I don't even know if I'm going to say yes yet. So we've walked through that. Do they have it all ironed out? No. It's best that a person talks to an officiant when they're thinking about it and when they're excited about it and when they don't have it all figured out because you can help navigate some of those hard questions and answers. So,
Yeah, I think that when I was getting married, we were really lucky that my husband's cousin officiated our wedding, but it was a hard process, like trying to figure out, like, okay, well, what parts do we want to have in the ceremony? How do we want to show our love? How do we want to talk about our love? Who do we want to read in the wedding? Like all those things. And so when you're talking to those couples, what advice do you give them to kind of navigate that whole journey?
it's a process. And for the most part, I think helping the bride is the easier part. I've had several men come, call and come to me and text me and say, "Hey, I need some guidance on this," which is really exciting because um, my best counsel in that is to say, enjoy the journey. And what attracted you to this person? What made you even think that it might be a lifelong walk with this person? So focus on those things first. Focus on the love because the process can be somewhat tedious and um, challenging at moments. So I've told the gentlemen, the guys, I call them guys, I've just told the guys, enjoy the journey. And it's
Mhm.
like, remember the first date, remember the butterflies, and stay focused on that during the process. And, communication. Oh, that's the key. Communication with your partner is vital to a successful entire journey from the moment you meet until you're finished,
Mhm.
until it's over. But just sharing the love journey with them, trying to help them stay focused, enjoying the process, and including the wife and husband together in the entire set is important.
Yeah. Do you always use the same script or do you kind of
Mhm.
customize each wedding ceremony for each couple that you marry?
That's such a good question. I've performed weddings that were the same day where they went down to the county recorder's office and got the license right now, and we performed the wedding within hours. So, didn't have much time with that. It depends on what the family's preference is. It depends on cultural backgrounds. It depends on what's the couple want to have included in their ceremony. And whether it's a one day, what do you want it to look like? Do you
Mhm.
want it to just be you and your partner? Do you want it to include your children and dogs and, lizard? I mean, I've had them all, but, what is it that you're looking for to make your day special and memorable for you two first, and then your extended family? So it just depends on what they're needing, whether it's a one day or it's a year or it's all planned out. It depends. Um, you can have a formal ceremony and that take time and more effort, or just we'd like to make it super simple and emphasize on the party part of it, the celebration, the dancing and the other parts of it. So it just depends on what the couple is looking for.
Yeah. So when you say a formal ceremony, what does that look like
Yeah.
exactly?
So informal, I've done, hats and boots and jeans and swimsuits on the beach. I mean, it just depends on what the person, it I think it comes from the way they've met, how the couples met, how they want to remember, in the photographs, what do they want to have captured. Formal could be, the long gown with the train and the entrance, and it could include a father and a stepfather. It could include, you know, um, pulling the babies in on a wagon, and so a formality would be dependent upon the person's heart.
Mhm.
Are they more serious, or are they fun, or do they want to dance in, or it just really all depends on what the bride and groom seem for their future.
Yeah. What is the ideal timeline for a couple? I mean, I know you've said that some couples have contacted you just hours prior to
Hmm.
getting married.
Uh-huh.
So, what would be the ideal timeline for a couple to contact you and meet with you and kind of
Hmm.
get that, ceremony all planned out and put together?
Ideally, the books say a year. The books say, look at your calendar for a year. And I've had couples come that wanted to be married that day. And, how do we premarital counsel with one day? I'm like, you don't. That's not enough time to kind of navigate through some of those roads. But one year is ample time for you. And most couples that plan out for 12 months, they've had experiences and time together. So they know the hills, the valleys, the good, the challenging moments in their relationship, the family dynamics. So one year is ample. If you have 6 months, I just say make the best of it and enjoy the journey. So it doesn't matter your timeline.
Mm.
What matters is love, and what matters is joy, and what matters is happiness throughout the entire process, because that's what you'll truly remember.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
When when would you say they need to like finalize everything? Like when they're planning everything out and they're like, okay, we're at this point in time, we need to have it finalized so we can like proceed forward.
That's a good question. For some couples that have taken a year to look at their calendar, and I'm engaged and we're going to get married next year, I'm like, that's awesome. How are you doing on your timeline? So there are many formats that you can follow that give you like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and where you should be in those. I just recommend couples don't hurt themselves with that process, but try to stay true to that process
Mhm.
and to prioritize that process, because it helps with stress. It helps with the anxiety of your dress is not ready, or all the men in the party don't have their suits, or there's no socks to match, or the gifts. So, although you may have a timeline in mind, don't hurt yourself with that. And then if you need help, ask for help. People are more than willing to reach out and help you with this special occasion. So, try to stay true to your timelines, but also don't hurt yourself in the process.
Yeah. So earlier you mentioned, premarital counseling. Like
Mhm.
when should couples like really look into doing premarital counseling or coaching?
Mhm.
And is that something that you do or is it something you kind of refer out for?
Premarital counsel is vital. And I say it's vital because it doesn't matter what your background is or your parental background is. You can have lived with someone for 1 to 5 years and still not know the depths of their personality. Some things just don't come out until after marriage. So, um, myself personally being married and divorced and remarried to the same person, oh my goodness, premarital counseling is vital because when you meet, you're on fire for each other. You have that butterfly theory, right? But then after you hit some hiccups like paying taxes or having student loan debt, or you've got your doctorate and they've only got their bachelor's degree. I mean, there's so many variations of what we all bring to the table. Some of us come with luggage that we don't realize. And some of us have never worked through challenging seasons of our childhoods, for example. So I recommend marital counseling. I do it myself. My husband and I do it. Like I said, we've got some experience. And then I think about my parents who were married for 50 plus years, and I think about their experiences won't be my experiences because we live in a different generation. So there's so many reasons why premarital counseling is vital to the success of a marriage. A marriage is not just a marriage, it's a covenant, it's a promise, and it's not just for today, it's for forever. So marriage counseling is important. If I'm performing your wedding today, I talk to you about, let me give you some material that I'd really like to see you work through over the next 3 months to help you. And then I've also had couples that have said, we've got 12 months, we've got 6 months, when should we start? I want you to pace yourself because premarital counseling is vital to a faithful, successful family dynamic. So I think that it's very, very important.
So what do you say to couples that maybe are on the fence about that portion? Like, are they just more so nervous about, what does it look like? Because some people have preconceived notions, that they know what it's going to look like, but it may not necessarily be like that. So what can you tell them about that?
Yeah. No one wants counseling. Counseling is like going to school, right? Counseling is like getting an education. You know you need it, but you don't want to have to go Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So counseling is, it's not a word that's really used in our current society because we say mentoring or I think about the couples that I've had the opportunity to mentor and how we have built a strong bond. And it may not be an everyday bond where we talk every day, but I think about this couple that I married and we mentored. And it's mentoring because you look to people that are in your industry that are doing what you're doing to help you get there, right? So if you take away the idea of counseling, because you don't want that. You don't want somebody to come and tell you what to do, especially in certain cases. But if you say, I have some tools and some things that will help you be successful, you gravitate towards that. You lean towards that. And so I think about this couple who I married. She was pregnant already about 4 or 5 months. Well, now it's been some 5, 6 years and they're on their 4th baby. And we're still very good friends. Again, not every day. We don't talk every day, but if there's a challenge or if there's a hiccup in marriage, because there are a lot, she'll reach out to me and say, hey, what do you think about this? Let me just backboard something with you. So it's more relational than, counselor, that type of relationship. So it's helpful. And if you share that it can help in your marriage success, I think people gravitate more towards that instead of just the word counseling.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. More of a mentorship, which everyone wants a mentor. Everyone needs someone to look up to and have, someone to talk to and make sure that they're following the right path or, going in the right direction. So one of the newer trends, which is not really a new trend, but is a lot of unity ceremonies within your wedding ceremony. What are some of the unity ceremonies that you've seen recently that you are gravitating towards, or that couples are gravitating towards?
One that I've seen come back into our current trend is the hand tying. And, at first I thought that I don't know about that. What does that mean? And where did that come from? And, I'm always interested to ask the parties because it's not always the bride. It's sometimes the groom will want, to wear a skirt because that's their cultural tradition. Sometimes you'll want to put pictures on the flowers of the bride. So tying the hands, I thought, oh, that's different. What's that mean? And it actually is an old Scottish Irish tradition that is coming back around. That is just something where the bride and groom want to become one. They want to become one. So you listen to what their vision is, what their dreams are, and you patiently wait. Because if both parties are on the same page with however they want their service to be performed, it's most successful for the entire party. So, and it includes often the family members, sand in the vase type thing, where the children get to come and pour sand because, it's a symbol. It's symbolic of something meaningful for the couple. And again, it's something they get to look back on in their pictures and say, we did what our great great grandmother did. Or, I had my loved one with me at the wedding ceremony. I kept an open seat for them in the front row. And it just makes my heart leap because bringing in people that are meaningful to you, it's kind of like that mentoring that we just talked about. You have someone that made an impact, not just on your marriage date, the wedding date, but will for generations help carry on that legacy of love or sweet memories or something similar. So,
Yeah. When it comes to the unity ceremony, there are so many different unique ways to go about doing it. If maybe the hand tying is not necessarily for them, or the sandwiches, sands or candles, because those are the most popular, I would say, because they've been done for a while. Is there a way that you can work with them to find the right type of unity ceremony that they want to add in? I mean, like I said, I've seen so many recently. I've seen ones where the couple will mix a cocktail together,
mhm,
or they'll, plant a tree or even water a tree.
mhm.
Like, is that something that you work with a couple to kind of realize their vision?
I do. Often when people come, especially those that have time, if they come, to the table with ideas, or time. I've got 12 months. I have no clue where to start. Well, let's just start with breathing. And then what's important to you. And well, and they'll share with you if you listen to the way they communicate. And for the last 5, maybe 7 years, I've tried to listen more to the men, the man's perspective and the man's heart, because, mostly the men just want to have a good time. They just want to party. And so what does that look like to you? How does the party, and then you'll hear in the communication that my dad's dad did that, or my grandpa, wore a kilt. And I'm thinking, well, do you want to wear a kilt? Oh, no, I don't want to wear a kilt. That's embarrassing. But how can we incorporate some of that Scottish heritage? So when you listen to the men, you'll win. You really do win. And, you know, both parties are equally, because they're excited. You're super happy. You're you want this perfect experience, but you come from two culturally different backgrounds. So, as the officiant, as the reverend, I'm just listening to say, how can we make it happen for you? And really try to quiet the external voices from the couple,
Mhm.
because that can be something that makes it successful, is their dreams, their visions, their wants coming to fruition.
On one of our previous podcasts, one of the guests talked about how she's in the industry, and one thing that she sees every wedding almost is the couples waiting to the last minute to write their vows. What guidance do you have for people that are wanting to write their own vows for their ceremony and that process? Because I know even myself, I wrote my vows the day of my wedding because I was so nervous that I was going to say the wrong thing or not say something meaningful enough to promise my partner. So what advice can you give us or guidance can you give us for that?
I remember once when a couple that I was working with were so excited, wrote the vows, they come to the altar, they're ready to go, and the microphones didn't work. So I talk to couples and ask them, how are you with public speaking? Are you comfortable with it, or are you like intimidated by the microphone? So hearing how they feel about it at first, because the wife may be super excited, the bride and the groom say, I absolutely hate microphones. I would rather die than be on a microphone. You've got to look at, both the pros and the cons of public speaking or even speaking out loud. And then, I ask couples, are you willing to make that a priority and write that into your timeline? Because that is something that needs to be meaningful and you want to prepare for that. There's nothing wrong with cramming because I know cramming has worked and I've seen it successfully happen before, but what are you trying to get across? Because it's for life. Because what you say at your wedding goes viral. It is on, it's being recorded. So you'll have videos of it. You'll have pictures of it. I've seen even the party get up and reiterate the vows at the wedding. So I always recommend, and yes, I have helped people organize, write down, subtract things that, maybe you don't want to say in that moment. And then also help them with, do you want a book? Do you want to just have it on a piece of paper? Do you want me to have it on my iPad so it doesn't go anywhere? And then, making sure that we have it beforehand because it changes. I've seen it change where you wrote your vows a month prior and then at the last moment, I want to add 3 things. Okay, we'll add 3 things. So I've seen a variation of the vow writing and I've seen songs sung to each other. And it's important. And those things of importance you want to prioritize. So
Yeah. What has been one of your most favorite memories of a wedding that you've performed?
I think one of my favorite memories that I've ever performed was of my daughter and the process that it took. She had, I don't know, I think she took about 6 months, maybe 8 months when she knew she was getting married. So the venue was most important. And I said, okay, so I'm officiate. I didn't want to officiate, which is bad, but I didn't want to officiate because I wanted to enjoy the journey. But it was very, very important for her that I perform the wedding. So I stepped back and I said, if I'm going to perform this service, here's some things that I can't do. And so I stayed in my lane and it was really a challenge because, from the ringing the bell, I found my dress to making sure the colors were, I just sat back and I got to enjoy her making choices with her husband and also getting to know him as a groom, not as my son-in-law, not as her boyfriend, not as the father of my grandchildren, but as the groom and as an officiant. I got to experience a level of love that I thought I could never enjoy. Because sometimes I cry during weddings, and I know many officiants don't, but it's so precious to me to see the love and the look in the bride and groom's eyes. But to do it for my daughter was a moment that I'll never forget, and I'm so grateful for that opportunity.
Yeah, that sounds like a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for our engaged couples planning their wedding festivities?
Engaged couples, I would say think about it. Think about it again. Make sure that you know of your date and why you're planning it around that date. Is it going to be hot and you don't like the heat? Is it going to be cold in winter and you don't want to walk in the snow? So think about what you're thinking about. And then always, always, always enjoy the journey. And when it becomes stressful or you feel that tension, because you'll feel the pull and you'll feel it externally before you feel it internally. So you and your boyfriend, your fiance, you won't feel it like your parents feel it. You won't feel it like your, bridesmaid and your party feels it, because they want to help you plan. They want to help you prepare. They want to do they want to do everything. And like an officiant, I have a role and responsibility. So does the bride. So does the groom. Date, solidify your date nights, prioritize your love languages, make you the most important people in this entire process, and hush the noise. Hush the noise. When the noise comes, because it will, guard your mind and your heart and your day around you and your husband, your soon to be husband. Stay one. You stay one, and don't allow negativity to seep into this occasion, because it will, and you've got to guard against that. So date nights, your process, plan, but have joy in the planning. And when you feel the tension, say, hey, wait, let's step back from this for a moment. I feel, and say, I feel, and respect that, but prioritize your love first before the event.
What advice do you have in general for couples getting married or that have started their marriage journey?
Their marriage journey, I think that it's important to talk to other people who have had successful marriages, not perfect marriages, because there isn't one. So talk to other people that are in that field that you want to enter into. So if you want a beautiful wedding, go to marriage events, go to, brides, parties, do different things that are going to help you to make decisions. Do it early. Go to couples things only, not family things. Go to other, events that have couples in it. If your fiance likes to, I don't know, throw horseshoes, go to a horseshoe throwing party. Find things that make you happy beforehand, because then once you're married, you'll already know those things. And mentors are very, very important to a successful marriage, lifelong down the road, right? And finding things that bring you together instead of make you different, because you're already different. You come from two different backgrounds. Enjoy the journey. And when stressful seasons come, because they will, aging parents, taxes, paying off debt. Debt is one of the worst crushers in a marriage that has ever been known to people. Figure that out. Sit down and breathe through it. Come up with a financial plan and work through those things that are difficult. Enjoy the journey. Stay with love. Stay with what made you. And I ask couples when I first meet them, how'd you meet? Tell me your story. And then stick with your story, because seasons change. You have children. People, I've heard, we grew out of love. No, we don't grow out of love. We grow, and love happens. So no matter where you are in your season of marriage, find things that make you happy. Don't just do it for the kids. Don't just do it for your partner. Take good care of yourself, both of you as individuals, so that when you're together, you can be successful and you can be happy for each other and with each other. So that's what makes a great marriage, and it makes it a lifelong journey of commitment.
What advice do you have for the couple that maybe wants to have, a family member or a good friend come in and marry them that maybe is not an officiant, that are going to get ordained? What advice do you have for that couple that is thinking about going that route?
Good question. It reminds me of a Las Vegas or a Reno, Nevada wedding, or an officiant that works for the county recorder's office. I believe that you can become ordained online. You can go to like Universal. I don't know the name of it, so please forgive me in that. But you can go to any website and become ordained or become an officiant. I think there's a small fee, and you may answer a few questions. Um, I would say if you're going to pick someone in the family, make it neutral. Make it someone that will keep you somewhat accountable to your marriage, because I've seen couples that have had a brother, a sister, a cousin marry them, and then they drop off the face of the earth. They're never a part of the family's life. And so, again, you can get ordained online. It's almost free. It's not free, but it's almost free. And you just want it to be someone that's going to be meaningful, that's going to help you, because an officiant really does help the process. They kind of help lead the wedding and the party, and they kind of help the bride and groom guide through the process. That's the role of an officiant. But if you're looking for someone just to marry you on the beach, you can probably do it for $25 and get a certificate or an ordination. And it just needs to be someone that is ordained on paper so that they can sign the marriage certificates.
Yeah, but it sounds like you do so much more with the couples. You really are that mentor that they can have a guiding light towards, that you can show them different tools, and it's much different than just,
Just an officiant.
yeah.
Yeah. Because you can do it at any time in life. I mean, you can choose your next door neighbor to do your wedding ceremony. I've seen it done. And then some of those couples come back later and say, do you mind sitting with us for a little while to talk about some things? And then I'm like, okay, yeah, let's talk. Let's just talk. So it's important for marriages, for couples, for people thinking about getting married, to think about long term, not just the day of the event. So it's good.
So when a couple is getting married and they're going through that premarital journey, I think a lot of families are concerned about, maybe blending their families or starting that blend. What advice do you have to give for those couples that are now blending two families, whether it's just two separate families, or maybe they're bringing in other children from previous families and now they're all going to become one family? What advice do you have on that?
That's a good question. I kind of liken it to, the young man has a dog and the woman has a cat. And how are we going to do this? Because neither one of our animals like each other. In our society, even before the beginning of time, we've had blended families. And then we come to the table blended, because, you meet someone, you're attracted to them, you fall deeply in love with them, and you're like, wait a minute, we are from two totally different backgrounds. How in the world are we going to make this happen? I think what has worked for me as the officiant and in helping couples become one, because that's what we're doing. Culturally background, learning the cultural differences is vital. Do they come from labor? Do they come from, farm workers? Do they, learning the person's culture is important to allowing the family to become one. It's not meshing. It's not blender. It's not crockpot. It's reality of, we've got some challenging situations here. How are we going to navigate this? And what's most vital in blending a family is remembering the purpose. The purpose is two people fell in love and became one. Identifying the past, looking at the principles and what the person is bringing to the table is important. And then coming up with a decision to say, this is a brand new relationship. Let's choose not to allow anything negative, first and foremost, to enter into our unity, into our becoming one person, into our raising our children. The way I was raised, the way you were raised, completely different, but we can make it successful. And it starts with the couple. And then it will seep into the family members. And building healthy boundaries, vital. vital to a successful relationship, because you may have some great backgrounds and experiences. You may have some real toxic situations that you have to navigate. And when you do it as one, with the gentleman and the lady first, and then the children, and then sit down and talk to them and explain to them, we're doing a new thing. Let's create new memories. And I think it starts with the couple, and it stays with the couple, and it ends with the couple. And it has to be a new thing.
That's great advice, especially, like you said, creating the boundaries and, starting with the couple getting married, and then it's just going to overflow.
Overflow. I love it. Yeah. And when things overflow that are positive, you just stay there. And if by chance it turns into something different, meaning like a little more negative, or you may have, influence, or people are
Mhm.
talking, let them talk. As long as you and your spouse are you're on the same road, and you want a new positive experience, you have to say no to some things,
Mhm.
and you have to build those boundaries where they may not like it, but they will respect it after
Mhm.
time, including the children. And it really does. I have seen it successful over and over and over again. So it does work.
There's so many people that are definitely, honoring their cultures and wanting to bring that into their marriage. How do you go about blending the two cultures, especially when they're coming from opposite sides of the world? Or, I mean, even, you know, it could be the same culture, but different backgrounds growing up, or in different, regions of the same culture. Like, how do you blend those two families together? Or traditions, I guess you could say,
Yeah,
too.
very good question. And often I've seen different religions in the marriage. I've seen different cultural backgrounds. Like you said, someone was born overseas, even East Coast, West Coast in the United States. Married a couple. One was from Tennessee and one was from California. And it was like just putting country with, Western. It was very, very interesting. So what I have found successful is learning the love language of that culture,
Mhm.
learning the love language of each of the cultures. So whether it's a husband or a wife, and I've got to please my mother, in certain
Mhm.
cultures. In certain cultures, we've got to have this religious background. We've got to have, it's got to look this way. I believe that it's important to honor the bride and groom. And I believe that it's important to honor ancestors as well. And what has been most successful in my experience is for each culture to learn the background of the opposite partner, learn the culture, embrace the culture, respect the culture, and honor. Honor is so vital. If by chance a wedding needs to go on for 2 weeks in one culture, and one culture is like, no, we're going to Vegas, we're doing it today, we're getting married right now, coming together, and you may possibly have to have two ceremonies. You may possibly have to, and use that word possibly fluidly, because it's truly about the couple, and the honor part will come after that. And because ultimately that's what you're left with, the husband and wife, not the parents, not the great great grandparents or the cultures, because they may live in America where they were born in, I don't know, another country that does it differently.
Mhm.
And communication, vital, vital, vital to communicate with family members and friends that this is what me and my partner have decided is best for us, because it's truly about us, and not to disrespect any cultural background or tradition, not to take away from that. We're adding to that.
Mhm.
And always remember that it's an addition. We're adding to the family. We're going to have children one day, and we want to embrace our culture by teaching our children whatever the heritage is of that culture. So remembering that it's truly about the bride and the groom, and honor and respect and love and communication with family members. You might have to have 2 or 3 ceremonies. When you want one for 30 minutes, you might have to enjoy the longer ceremony. You just want to be, you want to be flexible. You want to
Mhm.
be fluid. You want both parties, husband and wife. Remember, it's truly about them.
Yeah, that's great. Can you give me an example of a ceremony you've performed where you've had to blend two cultures together that were maybe not what you expected at the beginning?
Yeah. Well, two things. One, cultural background, meaning different ethnicities. That's one. And the other was one was from Midwest in the United States and one was from California. Two totally different cultures, not just the background of the families because they come from two different heritage and cultures, but now we've got two different communities. So we were born and raised, in different communities. Economic stimulus. You have one that comes from comfort, and this is, we just manage at this level, and one that comes from we work and we work and we work level. So in that scenario, what I had to do is I had to sit down and I had to be very, very quiet and I had to listen well because we were not just blending cultures, communities, we were blending family. So we had like a three-prong process that we had to navigate, and not just navigate, but navigate it successfully so that it was not just an event, that it was a lifelong journey. And so listening, vital, communication, vital, taking notes, and then going back to the drawing board of here's our vision. Let's just draw out a vision. How do you envision this working for you, for your family, for your community? How is this going to affect your children? Because remember, we've blended children now. And how are we going to navigate it so that we successfully stay happy? So you just tackle each one of those tasks. Don't take them all four on at one time because it can become overwhelming for a couple, especially when we're just talking about getting married. We're not even married yet. So navigating the process, remembering first that you love one another first. Second, knowing that there will be navigation places where you often have to go back to the drawing board and say, well, that didn't work, and scrape that off your plate and start brand new and allow new processes to take place that help you become more successful.
Yeah. I don't think that that's something I would have thought about initially, like tackling each thing one at a time instead of going it
One
all
at a
at
time.
once.
One at a time. Because if you think about being overwhelmed with wanting to get married, first of all, and then second of all, how are our families going to get along? How am I even going to introduce this person to my family? How are they going to fit in our jigsaw puzzle that we've already boxed and unboxed and we lost a piece, got a piece? So navigating that can already be a stressful challenge. And so as you look at it, even your bridal timeline, your marital timeline, don't hurt yourself in the process. Enjoy the journey. Date nights, coffee dates, where you don't talk about the wedding. You don't talk about the process. You don't talk about family. We don't talk about bills. Don't talk about the budget. Oh my goodness, that can bring such joy in the process. And so as you're navigating all of it, it's a lot to consume. And if you just, not so much compartmentalize, but if you just task it out, you'll look back and you'll say, we did it. We did it and we did well. So that helps in the process.
Any other guidance you can give us on the process or just words of encouragement?
Absolutely. Words of encouragement are enjoy the journey. And love is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Navigating love can be a little bit more work. But if you are all in, if you're all in, not just for the moment of excitement, but for the long term, I'm still excited in 5 years. I still can look at our wedding pictures and remember the process. I can still remember the vows that we wrote and we said to one another. It's not always about the ring. It's often about the valleys that we have to face together and that we are one. We're one person. And it doesn't matter who takes on whose name anymore, or if I'm, got two of the last names, some of those things that we prioritize aren't as important as the actual process. If you just look at it like love, and I want this to last forever. I want this feeling and I want this emotion of love to really last. And you work on that, I think you'll be more successful than society. And sit at the table with people that are doing what you want. Get with mentors that can help coach you and lead you and walk the journey, hold your hand. And, it's often give and give. It's never give and take.
Mhm.
And once you figure that out in life, I think you succeed in marriage, in, anything that you set your heart out to do, and it's worth it. So that's my success. That's my success story. That's my give it all you got story. That's my go ahead and do it story. It's worth it story. That's it.
Well, thank you so much, Miss Kris. I
Yes.
appreciate you coming in and talking us through the whole process of performing and having your ceremony. Thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.